Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Um, my name is Dewale Adewale, and I'm here this afternoon to share some of my experience and my knowledge with you. After being a JCI member for about a decade now, and being a certified trainer of JCI Nigeria, I'm very sure that I have the understanding enough to share some informations to you when it comes to JCI. And being an attending member, there are a lot of important informations that you must have to be able to flow very well as a JCI member. And this course that we are about to look into is one of the very important course that you must have as a member of Junior Chamber International worldwide. Junior Chamber International is not a club, it's not just a social gathering, but it is an organization set to transform the life of young people to become better citizens. There is this basic understanding that when you are a better person, it will affect your environment because you will have a greater influence over your environment, which will make your environment a better place. And from the World Organization, JCI members, we don't just do things anyhow. There is a way we conduct things, and most especially our meeting. There are protocols to follow during meetings so that our meetings can be orderly and can achieve goals. And it is because of this that JCI has put this course together, which is called Parliamentary Procedure. Because our business meeting, we see it as a parliament, a place where a group of young people comes together in an orderly manner to discuss pertinent issues that could affect their personal lives and their environment. So this afternoon I'll be taking you on the course titled Parliamentary Procedure. I have 4 outlines here that we will quickly look into. The first outline is the definition of parliamentary procedure. I wouldn't mind if you can just have your pen and paper. Please just scribble 1 or 2 things down because it is very important for you to know all these things as a JCI member. JCI members are expected to learn how to conduct themselves in meeting in a formal organization, in a formal settings. There is a way you project yourself that people will know that indeed this person has been groomed. So we are going to look at the definition of parliamentary procedure. Why do we, that's number 1. And under number 2, why do we need parliamentary procedure? Who are the people to observe parliamentary procedure? And where do we observe parliamentary procedures? That's on the outline number 2. And on outline number 3, how do we do parliamentary procedure? Outline number 4 talks about motions and various types of motions. In the next 30 minutes, I will quickly round up all these 4 outlines. It's just about summary. It's an introduction to it. This is a course that do last for about 3 hours in a physical class. But because of new normal life now, we need to see how we can engage people with information that is precise and that is time bound. Along the line, when you become a member, we expect you to grow with this information. Definition of parliamentary procedure. Parliamentary procedure are just set of rules, set of observations to follow when you are in a formal meeting like that of JCI. And they are being guided by a Robert rule of law. There is a man called Roberts, and he put some rules together. It's a very big and voluminous rule for conducting meeting. But out of that voluminous book, That's where JCI was able to extract their parliamentary procedure. These are the way we conduct meetings, the way we do meetings, so as to make the meeting look organized and look official. We don't just conduct JCI meeting anyhow. From the beginning of the meeting to the ending of the meeting is a procession of formal protocols which help us when deliberating and when debating issues to arrive at a set goal, or to arrive at a concise agreement which will make the meeting effectual and purposeful. As I said earlier, this course is a big course. I may not be able to touch some areas of the course, but the preliminaries that we need to understand, I will quickly touch them. As I said, definition is a set of rules that governs our gatherings, our meeting. Why do we need parliamentary procedure? We need parliamentary procedure in order to have an orderly and organized meeting. Any environment where there is no order, there will always be a chaos, there will always be a crisis, there will always be a fight. But when there are rules in place, when there is a protocol in place, it guides everybody involved in the meeting on how they conduct themselves so that the meeting will be organized. Because JCI is meant to breed responsible people. And in the environment of responsible people, you don't see chaos, you don't see crisis. Yes, there could be misunderstanding. It is normal because people always see things from different perspectives. My insight might be your bright side, and your own bright side may be my insight. But there is a way we can place the two on the table that will be able to see it together and be able to come to a better conclusion. So these are the reasons why JCI adopts parliamentary procedure, so that it will guide our procession during our meetings. Who are the people to observe parliamentary procedure? Every JCI member in a JCI meeting must observe parliamentary procedures. Every JCI member. So you as an intending JC, you are meant to understand the parliamentary procedure and observe it. I don't know, maybe I'm flowing. You as a JC or as an intending JC, you are meant to understand parliamentary procedure and observe it. There is a way to move motions. There is a way to observe protocols. There is a way to make your desire, to make your ideas known when you are in a meeting. You don't just do things anyhow, so that we can get things right, so that things can go the right way. Also, I want to who and where do we observe parliamentary procedures? It is during our meetings, during our gatherings, most especially our General Assembly. That's where we observe parliamentary procedures. Now, moving to outline number 3, which is how. How do we observe parliamentary procedures? How do we observe it? Firstly, before we go deeply into how we observe parliamentary procedures, like moving motions and some other ones, I want to briefly talk about our way of dressing, our outfits during General Assemblies. We, as the Junior Chamber International members, we don't just dress to our meetings anyhow. We have a code of dressing, and our code of dressing is formal dressing. It is formal. We dress like successful people because we are successful people. If you are dressing in English as a man, you are expected to put on your shirt with your tie and with your pants. You knot your tie and you put on a shoe. If you are not putting on suit, make sure you knot your tie. And if you are putting on your suit, good. And also, your shoe must be clean. I see some people, they come to meeting with their shoe tattered. It doesn't depict a successful person. Your shoe must be clean. Polish it. It doesn't cost much. If you can't take time to do it, give it to people who will do it for you and pay them a token. Another thing that we need to take cognizance of as male, most especially, when you dress and you talking, try as much as possible that the color of your belt goes with the color of your shoe. If you put on brown shoe, endeavor to use brown belt. Black belt rather. Black belt over black shoe and brown belt over brown shoe. It goes a long way. You see, there is this saying that says you dress the way you want people to address you. You dress like a successful person, and that's when success can locate you. That's when success can magnetize you. Very key. And one thing I also understand about issue of dressings and fashion, most of the time it's not about how much or how expensive your clothes is. It's about how much you care for that cloth. So as men, take it as a responsibility to make sure that your shirt is fit, good. Stash it and let it be well ironed. If you can't do it yourself, give it to dry cleaners to do for yourself, to do for you. Because it goes a long way, it projects your image. It is called personal branding. And for ladies, okay, let me quickly talk about native for men too, before I go to ladies. For men, when you put on native, you are expected to put on a shoe. We don't wear slippers on natives. You are expected to put on a shoe. Sometimes sandal could be allowed, but you must put on your cap. You must put on your cap on your native. That's how you can dress formally in your traditional attire. There must be cap on you. So that's that about dressing. It is very key. Dressing is important in our meeting. You just come to our meeting anyhow. We can allow you to come as a guest for the first time, but if you are really interested to become a JC, you must inculcate this into your part of life. You must dress excellent every time, anywhere you are. And for ladies, we expect ladies to put on their gowns and a shoe. And also, even if it's not a cover shoe for ladies, must be a buckle shoe, heel shoe, or slip-on. You must have your bag with you. You are expected to have your bag with you. And it will not be a bad idea if you also use colors if you use colors that match one another, not a color riot combination. And if you are putting on your native too, you put on your headgear and you make everything look good. You dress like a queen because you are one. So our meetings are expected. We are expected to dress best in our meetings. That's how on the issue of dressing. Let me quickly just leave that one like that and let me proceed. And let me go quickly to motions. Motions, that's the last outline. Motions are way of making statements during meetings. Because during our meetings, we are expected to gather together to deliberate on issues, to come up with ideas, discuss ideas, and see how we can make the ideas beneficial for humanity. So during the course of the meeting, there will be a need for deliberation. There will be a need for people to rub minds together, and there are ways we do it. We have several types of motion. We have main motion. We have subsidiary motion. We have point of order. Those are the three important motions. Main motions, they are motions that talks about a particular issues. Maybe you have something you want the organization to execute. You can signify during the General Assembly, and the chapter president or the presiding officer will recognize you. And after the presiding officer has been able to recognize you, and give you the floor. You address the floor. And how do you do that? This one too is very important. When you're addressing the floor, you address the officers on seats and the guests. After you've done that, then you put your motion forward. Let me give you an example. If you want to address the floor, this is the way you do it. The first officer in the floor, that is the principal officer, is the president of the chapter. The president of the chapter. Next to him is the head of national officers on seats. Next to him, next to the head of national officers, is the board of directors of that local assembly. Then you can now address the fellow JCs, friends and guests in the meeting. Let me just take it as an example. If I signify now, and Mr. President acknowledge me, when I stand up to talk, I'll say, Mr. President, fellow board of directors, fellow JCs, guests and observers in our midst. My name is Dewale Adewale, and I want to move that we have a kind of project that will take care of the old people in this our community. Based on the fact that I've seen many old people on our streets begging for money, and I feel like if we are young people in this community, that we are looking forward to make this community a better place, then I see a reason for us to cater for these old people. Then the president can call for a seconder on that motion and open the motion for deliberation. Now, the main motion is to organize a project. If it was deliberated and it is approved or adopted that such project should take place, that is a main motion. Now that the project has been adopted, there could be a subsidiary motion, like Mr. President, fellow board of directors, fellow JCs, guests and observers in our midst, having known that the president has, having known that this General Assembly has adopted the take care of the elderly project, I hereby moved that the project should be executed at Bodija, Ibadan. The main motion talks about the project itself, but the subsidiary is now talking about the location where the project is supposed to be executed. There could be another subsidiary motion that we talked about the timing and the modalities of executing the project. So let us get it right. And another one that is also always very useful during meeting is point of order. Even that one, you don't wait for Mr. President to acknowledge you, because sometimes point of order are for emergency issues. Point of orders are to call Mr. President's attention. So during the procession, when you notice something that is out of order or you notice an emergency, you can raise up your hand, point of order, Mr. President. And immediately Mr. President hears about point of order, he calls his attention and he takes the order. He takes the order, point of order taking, and when the point of order has been granted, you go ahead and say, Mr. President, fellow board of directors, fellow JCs, guests and observers in our midst, I've just noticed now that we are getting out of order on the agenda of today's meeting. I hereby call Mr. President to look into this so that we can be in order. Or another one is observation, Mr. President. Observation. Probably maybe in your meeting room, you observe that something is smelling and it calls for emergency, or it calls for somebody to look into that thing. You can raise up your hand and say, observation, Mr. President. Mr. President, when he hears such things, he leaves whatever he's deliberating on and takes that observation. Mr. President, I observed that there is a fumes coming out from the end of this room, kindly look into it. Then Mr. President called the attention probably of the meeting manager to it, and they tried to do something about it. Observation could come, probably you observe that somebody stand up to move a motion or stand up to discuss, and you find out that the person is not very formally dressed, or you want to call the attention of the president to something, you can say, observation, Mr. President. Mr. President, fellow board of directors, I just observed that JC Adetola Ogumunuyi is not formally dressed to this meeting, and he knows what the constitution says about that. So if your constitution says that he should be fined, he is fined and he pays his fine. And if the constitution says penalize him in some other ways, he does it and the meeting moves on. Another thing about parliamentary procedure, as I will be rounding up, is the meeting is always guided by constitution. Because of a lot of issues that happens during the course of meeting, a lot of decisions, a lot of ideologies, there is a law that has been put in place. There is a what will I call it now? There is a policy that has been put in place to guide the procession of the organization and of the local chapter. So during every meeting, at every point in time, there could be a need for us to check constitution. Check constitution about duties of various officers. Check constitutions and the standing of the chapter's policy on major decisions. This will guide us in taking decisions. I've seen something that I intended earlier this year in my local chapter to execute. And after I took my time to study the constitution, I find out that what my idea is not in line with the constitution of the local chapter. I have to withdraw it. So constitutions are like guiding principles that help us to know what to do and what not to do as touching the procession and the management of the local chapter. So please, I know this training that I just rounded up in 25 minutes is inexhaustible, but as time goes on, as you join us and as we meet and as we use all these tools in our meeting procession, you will get to understand and to familiarize yourself with it. JCI meetings are organized and orderly meeting. So parliamentary procedure is a key to our gathering so that we can have a better meeting and our meetings can be goal oriented. I want to believe this brief exposition has added one or two to your information bank, and I want to believe by the time you are being inducted as a JCI member, you'll be able to make use of this information to navigate your journey and your participation in JCI. I wish you an awesome and a pleasant experience as a JCI member. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm so grateful that you took your time to study this material. I would like to have your feedback on how to make this video better, what to add to it, so that we can make it better for the coming generation. My name is Dewale Adewale once again, and my email address is talk2waleadewale@gmail.com. You can send in your feedback and your comments. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day.